Hello, good afternoon. Hi, Taqi. So nice to see you.
Good afternoon, Professor. Nice to see you too.
Thank you so much for taking the time to tell me your story. My name is Heather Bruce Satrom. I teach in the English Language for Academic Purposes program at Montgomery College. As you know, this project is called History in the Making, documenting stories of immigrant and refugee students at MC. The goal is to help others better understand the experiences of immigrants and refugees in Montgomery County, Maryland. Telling your story will enable others to better understand the challenges that immigrants and refugees face and better appreciate the resilience and perseverance of people in your community. I am grateful for your participation.
Thank you so much.
Today is Sunday, March 26, 2023. This is the first of two interviews. This first interview will be related to your experiences growing up in Afghanistan, your country of origin. And then next week, we will meet again and talk more about your experiences here in the United States. You had a chance to read the interview questions in advance, but please note that all of these questions are optional. Feel free to let me know if you want to skip a question or if you need to take a break, just let me know. And this will take about 1 hour. I'm going to set my timer right now. There we go, for 1 hour. All right, so my first question for you is, could you tell me your full name and spell it for me, please?
My full name is Muhammad Taqi Daryabi, and it's Mohamad space Taqi space Daryabi.
Great. And do I have permission to record this interview?
Of course, you do.
All right, so do people in the United States have trouble saying or pronouncing your first name?
Yeah, most of the people who cannot are not talking Persian, they pronounce my first name Taqi. My first name is Muhammad Taqi, but I would like others to call me Taqi, and they're calling me Taqi. And in Persian, actually, it is Taqi, but people have trouble with pronouncing Qi. I don't know, it's hard for them or
I even have trouble when you say that it sounds different, the way that you're saying it, it sounds the same to me. So, and you were saying earlier before I started recording that your first name has a meaning. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah, Taqi means patient.
Patient.
Right, patient. And I don't know how much it could be true about me, but my name, the meaning of my name is precious. I mean that the meaning of my name remind me my father is patient. The most passionate person in the world I know is my father. I lived with him for a long time and I know him. And yeah, that's the meaning of Taqi. So
Can you give an example of how your father is patient?
I remember the days that we were in Ghazni, Afghanistan, and the situation in our family was not really good. Our economy was not very good, but my father was his passion could help him to pass those days and make solutions for the problems that we had in Afghanistan. And in those hard days, my father didn't give up. I mean, his passions helped him to just think very well, and it helped him to make a way for all of us to get out of that situation. And you know that my first 10 years of my life it was not that much good that it became after that. So, but my father was there. I mean, I was a small boy, a kid, and I couldn't help him, but he did all of the things that we needed for the whole family. My family is a big family. My family members are a lot, but my father's patient. In those days, I will never forget those days, and I will never forget my father's patience. So,
Thank you so much for sharing that. So tell me, where do you live now? Are you in Silver Spring?
yes, I live in Silver Spring.
And you work at the Cultural Arts Center at
Yes,
Montgomery County?
yeah, as a theater technician, I work there.
Say again?
Theater technician.
Tell
Theater.
me, tell me a little bit about your work as a technician there.
It's more like having fun. I mean, I work there, not a lot, but most of the times 2 days a week or a day a week, and it's mostly on weekends. And I work there with the cameras. I mean, setting up the cameras, the white balance and settings of the camera, and also I work on audio board, soundboard. I mean, and also on lightboard. So,
Interesting.
right. I'm not professional at lightboard and soundboard too much, but I'm professional at the cameras, with the cameras, and the manager that always helped me to learn something new. He's always telling me that you're good at cameras, and he's always asking for my help to do to work on the cameras and setting them up to record any program that we have, any event that is happening there. So yeah.
And you also work in journalism, is that right?
Yes, I work at Etilaatroz as a video editor, photographer, and videographer. I don't write any report. I mean, I don't make any interviews, but these are the things that I'm doing here. And right now I'm in the office of Etilaatroz, making this interview from the video room.
So can you tell us a little bit more about this news organization that's here, but it's gathering information to send to people back in Afghanistan? Or is
Etilaatroz.
it geared more towards the Afghan community here in the United States?
Okay. Etilaatroz was founded in 2012. My brother, my oldest brother, Zaki, is the founder of the Etilaatroz, and he did a lot to make the Etilaatroz as a popular news organization in Afghanistan. In the past 10 years, Etilaatroz has a lot of achievements. It was started with 4 or 5 or maybe 7 people, but right now there are more than 50 people working for Etilaatroz, all around in Afghanistan and all around the world, from Spain to Turkey and to Canada and to the United States. So yeah, it was founded in 2012, and I started working with Etilaatroz from 2019, and it's about 4 years that I'm working for Etilaatroz as a video editor and photographer and videographer. So
just for people who are watching this, then the organization means Etilaatroz. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. Etilaatroz, is that right?
yeah, Etilaatroz, yeah.
It means daily information.
Right, and also we have the English version. We just started the English version. It's Kabul now. It is under the Etilaatroz programs, and it's publishing the news from Afghanistan and the stories out of Afghanistan in English version. It is Kabul now, but it is a part of Etilaatroz. We just started that to make some foreign audience, and those who are interested with Afghanistan issues, they could find the information they need from there. So our colleagues from Canada and here, they're working every week, every day to publish the news, stories, and everything that is happening in Afghanistan, and giving information about the conditions and the situation in Afghanistan, what's happening there and what's going on. And sometimes some articles that talks about the future, that what will happen in the future if this go this way and that way and that way. So yeah, it is Kabul now. So if anyone wants to follow the Afghanistan stories, they can follow Kabul now and read these stories. And
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. I'll have to check that out. I want to go back in time, and we'll come back to your work as a journalist later, but let's start right from the beginning. Where and when were you born?
I was born in 2000 in Ghazni. My birthplace is Ghazni, in a village called Dari. It was 2000, yeah. On December 19, 2000, I was born in Dari, Ghazni, Afghanistan.
And can you tell me a little bit about your family? You mentioned that you have a big family.
Yes, I do. My parents, and I have 4 brothers and 3 sisters. Two of my brothers are here with me, and one of my sister also. Others are in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. My parents and one of my sister and 2 of my brothers are in Pakistan, and one of my sister who got married 20 years ago. She lives in Afghanistan with with her family. And yeah, that's
So-
all. Yeah, two of my brothers got married as well. Both of them have their children and their kids. The oldest brother have 3 kids, and the youngest, and the other one was younger than him. He have 2 kids.
And in the order of the family with your siblings, where do you come? Are you the youngest, in the middle? Where do you fall?
I'm not the youngest. I have a sister who is younger than me, but after her, it's me. That I'm the youngest brother. But not the youngest.
So you're 6 of 7, is that right?
I'm 7 of 8.
7 of 8. Okay. And did you like growing up in a big family and being the youngest brother?
Of course, especially in Afghanistan, it's a lack if you're the youngest, because the oldest one have always to work, have always to feed others. First your father, but after your father, once your brother got old, he has to help your father, and so on.
A lot of responsibilities for the oldest ones.
Right. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities in Afghanistan, but I had in the home, but not outside of the home. I mean, I didn't work it a lot in Afghanistan, and I didn't have to help my family making money or something like that. Or but
So you feel lucky to be the youngest brother.
Of course.
Can you tell me a little bit about your neighborhood and community? You said it's a village where you grew up. Can you tell me like how big it was, what it was like, describe it to me a little bit, your neighborhood and community?
The place I burned, it is Jawari, but if you make it smaller, it's going to be Hutkolan. If you make it also smaller, it's Kulay. I burn in Klay, and the community that I grew up is Klay and Hutkol. and there people used to know each other a lot. I mean, most of the people there know me right now, but I didn't know them. The community there. So I mean, it's the way that people are seeing each other a lot, meeting each other a lot, and they have parties and programs that they can meet each other in those parties and programs, and they always make that parties. For example, once a month.
About how many people live there?
I'm not sure, but if I tell Clay, it is about 200 to 300 people.
Oh,
But
so
if
very small.
it goes to Hutkol, it's more than, it's thousands. I mean,
So
there's a
it's
lot.
very like rural, like in the countryside.
Right, right.
Can you describe a little bit your home growing up, what your house was like?
It was not a modern house. It was an old house that my father built it. And the house that I grew up is made by, what do you call? It's not modern. It does not have, for example, bathrooms, toilets, and so on. It is an old house where you don't have a lot of, where you don't have a lot of, what should I say? What can I say?
Did you have electricity in the house?
We had, but for 3 hours in 24 hours.
Wow.
During the night, just for 3 hours. And it was, we had a machine that was...
A generator?
Yeah, generator, right. We had a generator, big generator, and it was spreading the electricity to all the village. I mean, it was not our own generator. It was in the mosque, that it was giving the electricity to more than 25 or 30 houses. Yeah, but it was for 3 hours. We couldn't, for example, use the refrigerator and something that needs more power. Only lights and nothing else. Only with lights and television, right? Yeah, we had a television in Jowry. I remember that television. And we were one of the first families that could have a television. And I remember this, that my uncle families, that their children was coming to our home during the night to watch movies and TV shows into that small screen of television that we had. It was a 14-inch televisions, but we were gathering to watch different kinds of movies, different kind of series. And
what kind of movies did you watch?
Sorry?
What kind of movies and series did you watch?
Different kind of movies. I mean, most of the time, mostly series, TV shows.
Were they made in Afghanistan?
No, they were Persian series. Like, I remember the series named Mishki. It was about a horse and a horse rider. It was made, I think it was made in Poland.
Interesting.
It was made in Poland, and the whole series was about a horse that was so strong, and it was the horse rider always participated in races, and the horse always won the race. So that was
these memories that stay with us from when we were.
Because of that series, we had got, I mean, in our family, in our village, every family has their own, should I say, goat and sheep. and to make yogurt, and at the end of the year having meat and something like that. And we had 45 gotten sheep.
45 goats and sheep?
Yeah, goats and sheep. And one of those goats burned a baby.
Yeah, had a baby.
Yeah, I named that baby Mishki, the name hers. And I grew that, and that baby became my friend. I mean, whenever I called him that Mishki come in, he was coming, really.
That's a really great story.
Right. This series was affecting me a lot, and that was the most beautiful series that I watched in my childhood. And I cannot forget those days.
And it must have been
Especially the gathering, because you know that 10 to 15 kids are gathering and watching a series like that, and that was amazing. And tomorrow, the day after that night, when we were getting out of home and meeting our friends in the village, we used to talk about that series. That what happened last night? What happened in that episode?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really good memory.
Right.
And you had to watch it late at night because that's when the generator would come on?
It was the generator was turning on about 7.
Okay.
And we had electricity from 7 to 9 sometimes, and sometimes from 7 to 10. And those series were published in around that.
About how many people would gather in your house to watch this show?
Sometimes 10, sometimes 15. It depends on their existence in their apartment, because sometimes they were going to their friend's house and they couldn't join us. Yeah.
About how old were you when you would have these parties?
I was about 6 or 7 years old.
That's a very sweet memory. Yeah, I
Right.
like. You mentioned that your family had goats and sheep. Was it your responsibility to help out with that? Can you describe some of your responsibilities?
Yeah, I don't remember the responsibilities for those goats and sheep, because we had to take them out to the mountains every day.
Okay.
For 1, 2, or 3 hours sometimes, and I every day took the sheep and goats out to the mountains and to feed them.
Yeah.
We couldn't feed them in at house completely. I mean, we didn't have enough food for them, and we were getting them out to the mountains to eat whatever was growing up in the mountains. So it was my responsibility, because I was the smallest one, small boy, and it was my responsibility to take them out and feed them and get them back to home during, and mostly it was during the evening. I mean, in the evening, I used to take the goats and sheep out and feed them and get them back.
And you would be gone for, you said, about 3 hours at a time while you would do this?
Yeah, it was 2 hours, 3 hours.
Would you go by yourself or with a brother?
No, with my friends around the village, because every small boy has the responsibility to take their sheep and goats to the mountains, and we were going together. I mean, 5 to 10 friends. We were going together and we were spending our time together. We were just once we got to the mountains, we were leaving the sheep and goats to their own. We were playing with each other, playing football, playing volleyball, because we have the playground. We made the playground in the mountains. We found the places and make that ground to play football or volleyball. And sometimes the cricket. Yeah, we had our fan, our time, and the Ghazni ships had their own.
Do you think about these experiences sometimes now when you're going for long walks? You mentioned that you like to walk in Rock Creek Park. You probably pass by soccer fields and see children playing. Does it remind you of your experiences? And
Yeah, experiences are always with me, and especially the beautiful experiences like this, because maybe it looks like that it's not good for for a kid like me to do these, to have these responsibilities at that age. That those were beautiful. Yeah, those were beautiful. We had our time, we had our fun, we had our friends, and we were helping our parent, our family.
definitely.
That's nice that I could help them. And yeah, whenever I'm going to Rock Creek, or Rock Creek is not reminding me those experiences, those memories, because Rock Creek is not the same as those places, because the mountains were out of tree. There was no tree, there was no grass. It was a different place, and Rock Creek is a different place. So, but if I go to a mountain around the Maryland, or the United States, of course it will remind me those days. Yeah, mountain mountains are reminding me.
The mountains, yes. Do you
Yeah,
ever go to like Shenandoah, to the mountains out in Virginia?
no,
No.
didn't have the chance, because I'm always, yeah.
So you mentioned that if we go back to when you were a child, that your family kept the sheep and the goats for milk and to make cheese. Can you talk a little bit about traditional foods that you ate when you were growing up?
Uh, as I said before, my family was not a rich family. We were poor those first 10 years, 10 years or 15 years, yeah. The foods that we were eating was not good enough. I mean, every lunch we had just one food, the same thing, every lunch. But during the night, we could have something different. And for example, we were not frequently eating meat or something that had a good, not a good meal. We couldn't have a good meal because we were not able to have it. The foods that we were eating was made by, I don't know the word, but let me search it. For example, can I have just
Yeah, sure. Take your time. It's fine.
most of the foods that we were eating was made by wheat. I mean, most of the times we had bread, just bread.
It's bread,
But
yeah.
yeah, with a cup of tea and some sugar, something like that. It was the breakfast that we had. And for the lunch, we the dried bread. I mean, the dry bread that was sliced up very small, in small pieces, and was mixed by we were mixing the sliced piece the bread with some yogurt, or and eat that. I mean, that was our lunch, a mix of bread and yogurt. Most of the time, that was our lunch. And for the dinner, we usually eat it beans and sometimes rice. I cannot forget this, that how much I loved to eat rice every day, because it was a rare food for us in those times.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like spaghetti sometimes, spaghetti, yeah, and something different.
Was it your mother and sisters who were responsible for preparing the food?
Yeah. Others couldn't cook. Only my sister, not oldest one, because she got married.
Mhm.
She, her husband home, and but the younger than that one, she was always cooking. Or my mother. My mother was old those years, but she was helping with cooking the foods or preparing the bread. The bread was prepared by my mother. It was a delicious bread. I mean, one thing that I cannot forget about Afghanistan is the bread that we used to eat with every meal in Afghanistan. If you saw a person somewhere that is eating bread with rice or something else, believe me, that is an Afghan. You can understand that that person is an Afghan, because Afghans loves to eat bread with every meal.
Did she cook did your sister or mother cook the bread outside?
Mm, no, we had a small room. My father that built the building,
Yeah.
our home. He built a room for doing cooking stuffs and making bread, something like that. We had uh, the the microwave, the not microwave, the what can I let me search for it.
Sure.
Uh, it was like oven,
Okay.
yeah, but it was not electric oven. It was built at by my father, and we used to burn some wood and something like that to make the bread. So uh, I will send you a picture if I could find.
That would be great. Yeah, I'm sure we would
I'll,
love to see a
I'll
picture.
send it. Right.
You mentioned earlier in the conversation that sometimes in your community there would be parties or gatherings. Can you talk about any memories you have about special holidays or parties that you remember or weddings? Do you have any memories of that from when you were a child?
Yes. When I was a child, we had holidays every year for 3 times. Special holidays for Nowruz. Uh, Maybe you have
No.
Nowruz, yeah, Nowruz. I mean, the first day of the year in Afghanistan,
Is
and
it
also
the celebration of spring? Yes.
yes, it's the first day of the spring. We call it Nowruz, and also the Eid
Okay.
days. We have Eid for 2 times, and what we call the first Eid. It is after the uh, uh,
Ramadan?
Ramadan. Yes, it is after the Ramadan, and the second one is called Eid Korban, that people goes to Makkah in Arabistan and coming back, and that's for that. And for each Eid or Nowruz, we have three. We had 3 holidays and 3 days to be free.
Can you
And
describe, since it's springtime now, can you tell me a little bit about Nowruz, how
yeah,
you celebrated it?
when I was a child, uh, this the most beautiful thing that was beautiful for me in those days was to get money from others, as Nowruzi, or the old the older ones used to give the small or the kids like me. They used to give some money to them as a gift or like that, and we love to get money. I, especially me, each Eid or Nowruz, uh, I was collecting, for example, like $2 in Afghani. I mean, it's about 100 Afghani,
Okay.
and I was so happy for that, because I could buy with that many toys. Yeah,
What kind of toys would you buy?
cars. I love to to get cars. So
like the Matchbox cars?
Yes,
Small ones?
matchback and uh, just kind of, yeah. Once I got bigger, I mean, once I was 9 years or 10 years old, I used to buy guns. I mean, gun toys, something like that, to play with others in the village. It was just a toy, but yeah, it was in the market, and we used to buy them.
Can you
And
talk a little bit about Eid at the end of Ramadan, what that kind of celebration was like when you were growing up?
uh, in Ram after we call it people in Afghanistan are fasting for 1 month.
Mm.
They don't eat during the day, just they are allowed to eat during the night after the mullah is singing his prayer, started the prayer, and after that they could eat, and it's about a month that people are fasting, and after a month they have a celebration day for that month. I mean, it's a religious party, but it is in Afghanistan. It is in our culture in Afghanistan. I didn't. I was not at the age to fast because I was a kid.
Yeah.
There is a special age for that you're required to fast in Afghanistan, and that is it's different for boys and girls. The girls should fast at the age of 9 or 10, but boys are boys, then that's the difference between boys and girls in Afghanistan. And I'm sad for that. That boys have to fast at the age of 14, I think, or 16, but girls are at the age of 9. So I was not at the age to fast, but yeah, young people and old people were fasting, and after 1 month they celebrate for that. This is the way that they pray. I mean, this is a praying way that they are fasting.
You mentioned, I think anybody who's interested in learning about Afghanistan probably has questions about differences between how girls and boys are raised, or about how men and women are treated. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and your memories of that when you were growing up? Like, when you first became aware of these differences? Like, for example, you mentioned girls having to do the fast at age 9, but boys not until age 14. Did you notice those kind of differences early on?
Yeah, yeah. I noticed this difference at the age of when I was at 11 or 12, I think, because
Mhm.
my parents told me that uh, be prepared to get fast in the next 2 years or 3 years, make your body ready for that. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't fast more than 15 years in my whole life. I cheat my family, and I cheat every. I was not a religious person, believe me, because I didn't believe in those thoughts and uh, beliefs that other had.
Mhm.
So I just fast for 15 years. But yeah, I realized this difference at the age of 11 or 12, that uh, some of my friends, I mean, they were girls, but they were fasting. They were 10 years and they were fasting. They had to fast because there was an obligation from their parents that they couldn't eat during the Eid, and they had to fast. Yeah, but other differences for the boys and girls in Afghanistan in how they are growing up. Um, there are a lot. There are a lot. I mean, depends on what we are talking. I mean,
Would you like to talk about maybe about education?
Right now, as you can see, maybe you're reading the stories and the articles that girls are not allowed to educate, but on those times they were allowed. I mean, there was no difference between girls and boys. But before we started school, we used to go to mosque
Mhm.
and start the religious educations that the mullahs were teaching in the mosques. And I myself, I started reading and writing even before going to mosque, because my father was a good man and he was working with Americans and with the projects that was given by American and NGOs.
What kind of work did your father do?
My father studied gardening.
Okay.
He used to go out of the village in other provinces, and he was working with companies. Let me see. Like he was working with gardening institutes, and yeah, his job was gardening. Because he was a lucky man and he could study in Kabul University. This his major was gardening.
Like agriculture work.
Yeah.
So your father encouraged you to read and
Yeah.
write at an early age.
He taught me how to write and how to read. He was going out for 3 months and sometimes for 1 year. I couldn't see him for 1 year in my childhood. And once he was coming back, he always brought me some gifts like notebook, new books, and bag and pen and pencils. Also, apple, food, something like that. But he always brought me notebooks and books as well. And he taught me how to write and how to read.
Wow.
After that, I started my education at mosque, and uh, uh, I was an excellent student of the mullah, and I studied up to after. There are some religious books that are that mullahs are teaching in mosques in Afghanistan. For example, I remember that a book, it's Nisab, it's in Arabic and translated in Persian.
Okay.
That was the last book that I studied there at the mosque. After that book, there are other books. There are some difficult books as well.
Can you tell me about other aspects of your education, not with the mullahs, but like did you go to a small school in your village or did you have to go farther away?
Uh, in our village, there was one school, and it's called Sot Sharfi. Sot Sharfi. It means that teacher Sharfi. Sot means teacher,
You sure?
and
Okay.
the name of the person who built that school, and it was a high school. It was far away from our home. I had to walk, for example, about 45 an hour.
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, 45 to 1 hour walk to there. And it was far, and I used to go there for 1 hour and walk it for 1 hour and came back for 1 hour too. And I studied there up to 5th grade, because after that we moved to Kabul at the age of 11.
Okay.
Or, yeah, I was 10 or 11, I don't remember. But we moved to Kabul after that, and I started my school at Kabul from 6th grade.
That must have been a big change for you moving to Kabul from a
A,
small
a
village.
lot, a lot, a lot, because
Can you
Kabul,
describe what that was like when you made that move?
yeah, I haven't traveled. I traveled once, yeah. When I was 7, I traveled to Pakistan, but that was for 1 week, not too much.
Yeah.
But I didn't have, for example, lived in cities before age 11. But once we moved to Kabul, I was looking at the buildings, and that was, for example, 10th floor and 9th floor, something like that, or bigger than that. And I was amazed by that. Oh my God, what a nice place. There was a lot of cars. The streets were concreted, but in Jogri there was no building like that, or there was no street like that. Jogri was a village, a poor village that some of the people had cars and motorcycles and something like that. But in Kabul, when I moved to Kabul, the first buildings that were popping in, and I was in the car, but I was looking into the buildings, and I was amazed by those buildings. But when we get to the new home in Kabul, and I started, for example, the new journey in Kabul, day by day, I was seeing the differences between Jowhari and Kabul. There was a big difference from the people, from the building, and from the culture, and everything was different from Jowhari. Yeah. For example, the way that we were talking in Jowhari, it's Hazaragi, it's the pure Hazaragi. I mean, it's part of Dari, but it's not a language. It is a way that people talks in Jowhari. And when I was talking with other kids in Kabul with that language, they were laughing at me because some of the words that I used, they didn't hear about those words in their whole life. The language were different, the culture and the kids, the way that they were dressing. Yeah.
That must have been a very challenging time for you.
Yeah, it was, and I feel the same here right now. I mean, here's challenging for me too. I cannot communicate with others, and for the first 1 or 2 years in Kabul, I couldn't communicate with others too, because I didn't know the people. I didn't know the way that they were communicating with each other, especially the boys and the kids that were playing in the area. But day by day, time by time, I get familiar with Kabul, and right now I love Kabul more than Jowhari because most of my memories are from Kabul. Most of the beautiful and most of the biggest memories and experiences.
Was it your father's work that allowed your family to move to Kabul?
It was my brother's decision, actually, because my oldest brother, we moved to the Kabul because he was getting married, and we moved to Kabul to get a party, a wedding party for him. And also he asked my father that all of you come in Kabul and live here. I can feed you and I can support them. I can help you with the cost of the life in Kabul. It was expensive there, but he asked to get us in Kabul. He was studying in Kabul in Kabul University. When I was, for example, when I was 7 or 6, like that, two of my brothers went to Kabul, and after that, one of the other one went to Kabul. Just we were remaining Jowhari. My father was in Ghazni at that time because he was a lawyer working for he was a lawyer of provincial council in Ghazni.
Okay.
Time, and my brother asked to get us in Kabul, and yeah.
So that meant more opportunities for you in terms of education.
Of course, when I moved to Kabul, I started school in one of the government school. I mean, a government school.
Was that hard to, did you find it challenging because you had come from a smaller rural school?
No,
Was
no. The books were the same.
interesting.
Books were the same as books that we used to study in geography. All of them were the same, but it got challenging when I was at the 11th grade.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, when I was at 10th, grade 10, I transferred to a private school. In Afghanistan, the government school are not very good. They cannot teach you very well, and they don't have, for example, a good educational system or teachers or books. But I transferred to a private school and I started education there. And that was challenging for me because that was the most challenging move for me, educational move, because there the teachers were very serious and they were not taking it easy on us, and they taught us in more in difficult ways. I mean, the books were looking for me more difficult than before, and that's why I took some extra classes in courses. I mean, there was educational courses around the city that were helping students to get to learn especially the math and the physics and something math, physics, and chemical.
When did you first start studying English?
I started when I was at 9th grade. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Did you enjoy that English class in 9th grade?
Actually, in our school was teaching us English too, but that was the most basic English that you can find in Afghanistan. The books were so easy, but I took some classes in educational courses that were teaching some more professional English. I mean, some of those courses were teaching academic English, and I started English. I took those classes when I was at the 9th grade.
And so did you graduate from high school in Kabul from the private high school?
Yes,
And
I graduated from the school that I started. I mean, in geography, because in 12th grade we have 12th grade in Afghanistan for the school, and after that we have a final exam. And I went to geography. I transferred back to geography to have some more time to study and to practice on what we have learned in the whole school classes, grade. So to prepare for that exam. So I graduated from there, but I didn't. I haven't took the final exam.
you didn't take the final exam?
Yeah, because I was interested in scholarships. I mean, I was looking for scholarships to get out of Afghanistan and study in a different country, and I applied for a couple of scholarships, and I had received I applied for a scholarship in Japan.
In Japan?
Yeah, in Japan, and they were giving that scholarship every year from one time to Afghanistan. It was special for Afghanistan. I applied, and I received the confirmation email. But at that time, I was poor. I didn't have money to get a phone or a laptop to check my laptop and see their emails. I checked out my email after 3 months after that email has been sent to me, and I missed that, opportunity. And after that, I have tried a lot to apply for the scholarships that was given by the United States or Canada and other countries, and that's why I didn't participate on that final exam, because I was not interested to study in Kabul University.
So you had an opportunity to go to Japan, but because you didn't check, you weren't able to check your email, you missed that opportunity?
Yes, I missed that opportunity.
You must, how did you feel when that happened? I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for you.
I felt so sorry. I mean, I was so sad for that, and I was anger on my family members that why you're not helping me to get a smartphone to check my email, and
Wow.
yeah,
It's
that
interesting to think about how important a smartphone, what an impact a smartphone would have had for you at that time. That's interesting.
yeah. I
So what happened after that? Where did you go? How did you continue your education at that point?
uh I graduated from school. I mean, before I graduated the school, I applied for that scholarship in Japan, and I received that confirmation email at the 11th grade. When I was at 11th grade, I received that. And when I missed that, I looked to other scholarships, but they were not for a level that I was on this time. But when I graduated school, I've tried to apply for many scholarships. Especially, I was looking for a good scholarship that was given by Toronto's University in Canada, and that was the biggest goal that I had to get that scholarship. And I have to write a lot every year. For 2 years, I have to write, but I was not. I was not accepted for that scholarship because some of the requirements I didn't have some of the requirements that they needed. So I was disappointed for that, and I was depressed for a long time.
I can imagine.
Yeah, not because of the opportunities that I missed, because of the living condition that I had in those days. Falling those days, I was in love with someone and with a girl, and we couldn't continue dating or something like that, and that made me so much depressed, and that's why that made a big distance between me and the education.
You fell in love with a girl?
Yeah.
And what happened?
Her family noticed that we are dating each other and we're in love, and it's not good in our culture to have relationship before marriage or before engagement. No, not before engaging someone.
Right.
So they didn't allow us to meet each other or to date each other anymore and to see each other. They asked me to stop calling that girl and to stop talking to her and just leave her alone or get out of her life, something like that. So
How old were you? Like, this, like you were 17, 18 at this time?
no, I was 19. I was 19. We had our relationship continued for almost 1.5 year. Yeah. After that, her family noticed and we couldn't go on anymore. And that made me so depressed, and the depression made a distance between me and the education, and I couldn't think and I couldn't think wisely about the future or what's going on, and I couldn't. I was not interested to study anymore. I mean, that's just what was
A very, very challenging time in your life.
right. So, but finally, once after 6 months or 7 months, I accepted what happened to our relationship, and I started. The pandemic came, right? Yeah. When the pandemic came, and I don't remember that month. My family went to Jowhar. My whole family, just me and one of my brothers, stayed in Kabul. The others went to Jowhar to pass the pandemic for 3 months and stayed there to be safe, because Kabul is a big city, and the population is a lot, and people were getting sick with the corona a lot. So that's why my parents and other family members went to Jowhar, and we stayed in Kabul. Those were the end of those hard days, the depression. For 1 month, I was alone at home. Not completely, but my brother was there, but he was working during the day. He was going to his office, and I was sitting at home and just thinking about what happened to me and her. And finally, I had some money, and I knew someone that was selling alcohol, whiskey. I called him that, please bring me 2 bottles of red label. It was available in a religious country like Afghanistan, and I bought 2 red label, but I couldn't drink a lot because I was afraid of getting. I knew that how it affects our body. That's why I was so careful about that, and I was just drinking 2 or 3 shots a day in the evening, and I was just sitting and thinking, and what should I do with what happened with the thoughts that I had in my mind for that girl. And finally, those 2 bottle of red label helped me to get her out of my mind and start a new journey and forget about her. And I just learned how to edit video from that month. After that month, I started learning how to edit, graphic designing on my own, because we were not allowed to go to the cities a lot. And I was just sitting at home. I opened my laptop, and I had a laptop that was given to me by my brother. It was my brother's laptop, but he was in India, and he gave that to me to use it. So I learned the Photoshop, the Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Premiere in just 2 months.
You taught yourself.
Sorry?
You taught yourself how to.
Yeah, I used some some educational cities.
Interesting.
YouTube.
Okay.
They were the source that I used to learn Photoshop and some of Adobe softwares.
Wow.
And once I learned those softwares, how to edit a video, how to make graphics, or how to edit photos in Adobe Photoshop, I started my job at Etilaatroz that year. And once I started my job at Etilaatroz, the people that was working there, they became my friend day by day, and they were affecting me. They were affecting my mind. And I changed a lot at the Etilaatroz. I changed a lot. My whole life changed in Etilaatroz. Before that, I was just a kid. I was thinking like a kid. I was acting like a kid and something like that. But once I started my job at Etilaatroz and meeting people, new people, younger people, and those who were someone for themselves. Talking to them and meeting them and listening to them changed me a lot.
So this is when you first started becoming a journalist or
Yes.
working in journalism, and you started meeting other journalists, and you
Right.
started did you start learning about the political situation then? Did you become more of an activist in some way at this point in your life?
I was not interested in some of the programs that were that people were taking in the Kabul, but with the political situation, it was not the Etilaatroz. It was the Etilaatroz, but before that, I read a lot of books. I mean, what helped me to make sense with the political situation was books that I read, and also the people that was in Etilaatroz. But I mean, my mind was opened by books, not by the people. I used to read a lot of books. 2 or 3 books a week. 2 or 3.
Did
Yeah.
you get these books from a library? How did you get the
Yeah,
book?
yeah. From the libraries. Also, I had a library in my own home. My brothers two of my brothers who studied at Kabul University, they bought a lot of books, and they were all for me.
Which books and authors were important to you?
The most important author for me until now, there is 2. One is Tolstoy.
Tolstoy,
Yeah,
yes.
I can remember that I read his book named Anna Karenina.
Anna Karenina, yes.
That's a lovely book, and I read completely. And I remember and I watched the movie. There is a movie about that book too. And also Khalil Gibran.
Khalil Gibran,
Yeah.
There's a monument here in DC to him. Have you been there?
Really, no, I haven't. But
After the interview, I'll send you a link. So you read Khalil Gibran and Tolstoy, and that had a big impact on you. Wow.
Yeah, especially it made my literature very good in Persian. I mean, it helped me a lot to have a good literature in Persian.
Were these books the 2 that you mentioned? Did your brothers buy those books for you, or did you get those out of the library?
No, that the Anna Karenina, the Tolstoy's books, the Anna Karenina. I borrowed that book from one of my friends that he had a library in Kabul, and I borrowed that book for 3 months from him. That I will read this and I will bring it back to you. And I read that, and I take that book to her back. So Khalil Gibran, there was a package of his books. I think 13 books in a package. I bought that book by my own. I made money. I collect some money. I saved some money to buy that book. It was expensive, so that's why I saved some money and bought that book on my own. And I read all of those 14 books.
Wow.
Yeah, and there are also other authors that I love a lot. For example, like I don't remember what was his name. Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, yes.
Yeah, 100
Years of Solitude.
Right, that is a lovely book, and also there's another book, Love in the
Time of Cholera.
Right. Those 2 books are very lovely to me. Also, yeah, there was another book from Charles Dickens.
A Dickens book, yeah. Which one?
Yeah, Dickens. I don't remember his book. It was the first books that I read. It was one of those first books that I read, and It was a long time ago. I was at the age of 16, I think, or 15, something like that.
So we have gone over our hour. I've so enjoyed this conversation, and I want to continue talking to you about books and about how your world opened up. So I think this might be a good time to pause right now. I want to ask you one last question for today. How do you feel about sharing your story today? What are you feeling?
I feel good, especially people will know me and the subjects that we had talked about. I mean, my family, my village, Kabul, my journey to my educational journey, and the way that people are getting educated in Afghanistan. I think this. I wish these talks could be helpful to others who are interested in Afghanistan. And I wish we could have more time because, yeah, there is a lot to say, but there is no time to say. I understand that. Thank you so much.
I am so grateful that you have shared this with us, and I definitely want to continue talking with you next week. I'm going to thank you so much. I'm going to pause the recording now.
Okay.